and welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ.
And I'm Chip.
And we're going to report the news. Just a few housekeeping things. First off, it looks like Governor Deval Patrick has made it very clear to the president that Massachusetts will take the thousands of some of the thousands of the illegal aliens that have crossed the border and are in Texas and in our border states. Representative Alan Sylvia said that if we declined them, it would show what type of Americans we are. People may be upset about this, some people may not, because these are children. But I'll tell you now, we can't afford what we have here. I don't know how we're going to afford more people when we have to provide translators, English as a second language education. It's going to be a burden on all our systems. And I think it's just totally wrong. I have to applaud the governor of Connecticut who said, send them somewhere else because we can't take them. And several governors across the country are saying the same thing. And Governor Lincoln Chafee of Rhode Island has said once he's approached by the president, he will notify the public. He hasn't said whether he's going to accept them or not. But thank you, Governor Deval Patrick. We know that you're prepping yourself for a nice job in the White House at the end of the year. Chip, what do you think about this illegal alien stuff, real quick?
Well, I think we covered it a little bit on the last show, but, obviously we sympathize with the fact that they're children. However, they are illegal. There are people who are attempting to get into this country legally and having extreme difficulty. We have tremendous financial burdens that are imposed on cities and states. And realistically, to do this, to me, it's just unfair to the states. And as you said, I applaud the governor of Connecticut. I expect that from Governor Patrick, but the fact is that the fallout that comes from this thing far outweighs, the good. I think they have to deal with this issue, but the best way to deal with this issue, in my opinion, is to send a message to all these countries that you're not going to get across the border. We're not going to house you. We're not going to take everybody that can run over the border and have other people not being able to get into this country. It's just patently unfair, and this country has enough problems without creating them.
Well, you're right there. But I think the big news in Fall River for the past couple of days is the Whaling City Festival is no more. And it's moved to Fall River, and it will now be called the Spindle City Festival. They stole part of our name. I'm upset. And they have Joe Eugenio as the coordinator of this event that the mayor insists will not cost the city one dime. No amount of city money is going to go into this festival. I call shenanigans on the mayor. First off, a little bit about Mr. Eugenio. He has a business here in Fall River at 502 Bedford Street, which is the old Anderson Little building. You may know it. It's called Creative Auctions. That's that little store on the Robeson Street side that sells all the outdated food. And he also has auctions 2 or 3 times a week where he auctions off items that he has. He also has a truck company. And part of his background has been he was involved with Top Rope Promotions. And for those of you who don't know what that is a wrestling organization. And they have their wrestling shows at the PAL Hall and also in New Bedford. But the big thing about Mr. Eugenio is that he's the one that New Bedford, more particularly the mayor, blames for the failure of the Whaling City Festival. And as a matter of fact, a comment from the mayor of New Bedford is that, if I can get this, I want to quote him accurately. I don't want to seem to have not done this properly. It is that with the demise of the Whaling City Festival can be attributed to the financial mismanagement of Joe Eugenio. And we've confirmed that with several news sources and people, including the mayor's own the mayor of New Bedford's own press conference. So of course, in Fall River, because he's a financial mismanager, he gets the top job. That's the way it has to work. But aren't all these carnivals enough? I mean, there's now one at Durfee, and we get them over and over and over again. They're comparing this to Fall River Celebrates America, which in 2010 was canceled by the Chamber of Commerce because it wasn't making any money. But know this, the mayor said that all the services provided to the Spindle City Festival will be what's called in-kind contributions. That's police, fire, medical, power, water, et cetera, et cetera. All of that has a fee attached to it. The police don't work for free. They're usually getting paid overtime for details. The fire department, those guys don't work for free. They're going to be sitting there getting paid for sitting there. EMS doesn't work for free. They're going to be paid to sit there. Water costs us money. Sewage costs us money. Trash costs some money. And DCM is going to have to go clean this mess after it's over, like they used to do for the Fall River Celebrates America by getting the sheriff to come down with the prisoners to clean up the mess and whatnot. The biggest problem I have with this is that we're saying there is no city money going into it. And they don't have a venue location yet decided. Yet several news organizations have reported that they're going to use the Durfee grounds for this event. Well, somebody's got to pay for that. And Chip, when you were on the fire department, you worked for free, right, for all those events?
Well, I didn't work those events, but they were paid. And, you know, what really troubles me about this whole issue, besides the fact that, you know, we really don't have the money, and we've created, this must be, we have to change Fall River's name from Scholarship City to Carnival City. This is like the Carnival Cruise Lines. Our mayor thinks that if we have a carnival every week and a half, that everybody's going to forget that we're being taxed to death. And I don't know if you read Mark Monroe Dion's column. He said many of the things that we've been saying on this show for a while about you know, pay as you throw, being circumventing 2.5. But what troubles me is it's just incredible to look at the way we do business in this city. It's like we go out and hire not the best and the brightest, but the worst and the dumbest. It's like if I'm going to run an event, I don't go look for somebody who turned an event into a disaster, who bankrupted another event. Yet he's in Fall River, and that's who we get. And it's like, who do we go to? The Three Stooges Employment Agency? You wonder why our financial team is incompetent. It seems that everybody that gets these huge paychecks for the city is incompetent. Yet, who do we hire? We're gonna bring in another festival, and we hire a guy who and as CJ, that was a direct quote, I believe, that you read. A direct quote from the mayor of New Bedford, who accused him of fiscal mismanagement. I'm paraphrasing now because I don't have it in front of me. But the fact is, this guy, you know, was looked at as someone who couldn't run the festival and not only couldn't run it, was responsible for its demise. And this is what we hire. This is what we bring in to the city, and then we expect to have success.
Well, Chip, you know, Mayor Mitchell of New Bedford also said very clearly, and this is a quote, "The reality is that Joe Eugenio ran what was once a successful, family-centered event into the ground through his financial mismanagement," unquote. That's the actual quote. Mitchell said, "If Mr. Eugenio wants to know," and I'm quoting him again, "if Mr. Eugenio wants to know how to run a festival successfully, he should take a good look at how the Feast of the Blessed Sacrament Committee manages their event." The Feast of the Blessed Sacrament is a huge event in New Bedford, as we know. Very successful and very profitable for every person who takes part in it. That is success. Not, we're going to throw an event and, you know, my pockets get lined, but everyone else's can, you know, bite the big one.
Well, obviously, that's the problem. The problem is this is, again, individuals who, for some reason, buy their way in, are politically connected, and this is what we have. And I've attended that feast in New Bedford of the Blessed Sacrament. It's an amazing event. It is truly, truly well run, and they make good money, and it's a great thing. I mean, you know, it's an ethnic feast, and people go down there and they, you know, you get to cook your carne spit over the fire, and they have fado music, and it's really a well-run thing. But obviously, we get a guy here who took, and I think what's really, really key in one of those statements, he took a once successful event and destroyed it. So, hey, Will, let's get him on board. Let's put him on the team, because you know something? He's got a proven track record, just like you do. Give you a city that's beginning to make a turnaround, and you'll wreck it. Give this guy the new event, and it's doomed before it ever starts. Wow, Fall River. You know, we used to compete with New Bedford. It's always been a big rivalry, Fall River, New Bedford, basketball, football, in every event. And it's gotten to the point now where I used to really say, we always said, Fall River's better than New Bedford. New Bedford's our Mississippi. There's an old joke about Mississippi. Yep. And a man once told a guy that he was his Mississippi, and he said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "I'm from Alabama." And he said, "If it wasn't for Mississippi, we'd have the worst state in the union." And he said, so, we always used to say, well, you think Fall River's bad, New Bedford's worse. But guess what? New Bedford is, pays their workers better, but doesn't pay their administrators as much as Fall River. Fall River now is the prototype for how to destroy a city. And if you read Mark Monroe's column, he basically said, our mayor has no regard for anybody except people who he's giving a paycheck to.
Yeah, well, and we've been saying that for weeks and months right now. But it's very interesting because, again, we have it direct from the mayor of another city. And basically, New Bedford is our sister city. And the problem that we have mostly is that even with these comments, with facts presented by the city of New Bedford and by the mayor, we still jump on board with something that could have been or may be a successful thing for Fall River. But again, how are we going to know? Joe Eugenio wanted to start this event this year. Now, and this speaks a lot to Mr. Eugenio. Wanted to start this event this year. And the mayor is quoting, Eugenio wanted to have the first Spindle City Festival this summer, but thought the event needed more time for planning to make sure the event is a success and start the tradition in our city and rekindle that spirit. Right? Rekindle what spirit? That's what I have to ask. Right now, I mean, you look at what people are saying. 1,300 people plus are on a Facebook page called Threw Up in Fall River. And not one of them has something nice to say about this administration or this city. And we keep telling you what we want. And the problem is that what we want is irrelevant to the administration. The people were elected the people elected those people in office to represent us and represent our wants and our needs. And they still defend themselves and their decisions, which have hurt the taxpayer and the people of Fall River. I hope and wish the best for the Spindle City Festival. But again, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And I think in this case, the spirit of doom is hanging above the Spindle City Festival at this point in time.
Well, I have serious reservations about this. Number one, because of the individual who's going to put it together. He has a proven track record and a negative track record. But the other thing is, there was an issue that when we were looking this stuff over about how long this goes. I think they used to close at 9 o'clock. They wanted to close at 10. Now he wants to, next year, when this event comes in, he wants to close at 11.
Right. In New Bedford, what happened was the city of New Bedford dropped their hours from 9 to 8. And that was in response to a 2006 brouhaha melee that resulted in arrests and injuries. And what happened there was they dropped it back to 8 o'clock and increased the police presence, again, a cost to the city, remember that. And then Mr. Eugenio and some of the merchants said, oh no, we have to go back to 9, or this just isn't profitable for us. They brought it back to 9, and then the merchants pulled out and they said, it's not profitable to us anyways, nobody comes. So the whole thing just died. This mayor has turned around and he says, oh no, we're willing to go till 11 o'clock at night. When Fall River Celebrates America was here, we lost a police officer who died there, okay? We had stabbings, shootings, and fights all the time. The police were working chronically down there. And the mayor wants to run this in the same event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Well,
until 11 o'clock.
yeah, well, right out of the gate, we know this is doomed because of one thing. I worked the first Fall River Celebrates America as a volunteer, not as a firefighter getting paid. I worked as a volunteer, and I worked a few. Actually, I was cooking charisse on a grill with Stu Kuznets from Stafford Insurance, and we worked a few. And Paul Simister, who was a fellow firefighter, was also on many committees for the Fall River Celebrates America. Initially, Fall River Celebrates America was a success because it was a family event. What family keeps their kids out till 11 o'clock at night? What do you gain? What kind of traffic do you get? We know what comes out at night. The denizens. You're going to open till 11 o'clock. They're going to serve alcohol down there, or there's going to be alcohol brought in, and we're going to open till 11 o'clock. Why not have an event at 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock, people with younger children will go down. They may participate. They may not participate. I guess we've forgotten that, like everything else, these things change. The event changed. Even as successful as Fall River Celebrates America was at the beginning, it ended up fizzling out. Other people have other things to do. The demographics of the city change. The fact is that, I could wish every success to this thing, but you know something? You've got to be pragmatic. You've got to look at things realistically. I'm not being a naysayer. I'm not being negative. I'm being realistic. We're going to create a festival, and the person who's going to put it together has already destroyed the same type of event in a city that is virtually a clone of Fall River as far as the demographic. Its economic status, it's a little bit better off, but basically it's the same. So we're going to get a guy who's already blown up a festival. He's going to run it. We're going to open it up until 11 o'clock and call it a family event, even though we know there are not going to be a lot of families out there at 10:30, 11 o'clock dragging their 6 or 7-year-old children around. And it's just, again, the Will Flanagan coma. I don't know what world he lives in. I know he doesn't live in Fall River because he's always in Rhode Island. I don't know. He just doesn't get it.
No.
Dion is right. He just doesn't get it.
Yeah, and it's a problem, that this happened. It really is. And I think the bigger problem is, number one, is what the mayor has said. He said that this will be a family-oriented, alcohol-free event. Now, you and I both know, when people go to these events, they bring booze. They slip it in, whether it's in a flask in their pocket or, in a cooler or something. So it's going to be interesting to see and what happens with that. But let's get to our city council. I think it's time to light some fires over there. Both Ray Mitchell and Mike Mioza have come out in the forefront defending their vote for the budget. I mean, they were on the Ray Mitchell show on WSAR, and they were both saying, we had to vote for this budget because this was not included in the budget. And in reality, Councilor Mioza, Councilor Mitchell, it wasn't listed in the budget as a line item. But then it was, because the line item was the enterprise fund for solid waste. So there it was in your budget. That's the first thing. You said that you voted for the budget, not for pay-as-you-throw. And again, you did. You voted for the budget, which required $3.5 million from the pay-as-you-throw program into the budget, because that's where the city got its money for the fire department and other services. So the 3.5 goes into DCM. DCM doesn't need to get 3.5 from the mayor or from the city or from the city tax coffers. Therefore, that 3.5 goes to the fire department or the police department or wherever else it needs to go. But Kathy Ann Viveris was just on the air this weekend saying that this is going to generate $2.7 million. Wait a minute, didn't they say 3.5? I'm getting confused again. Here we go. Here goes the mystical, magical number routine. But back to the city council, Mr. Mioza and Mr. Mitchell, you did vote for pay-as-you-throw in a roundabout way. And don't give me, we couldn't go through a 1/12 because then we'd be down to 115 firefighters and it would be a disaster. This city needed a disaster like that, because with a disaster like that, we could finally get this city put into proper management. Receivers would come in and place this city in proper management, and within a year, maybe 18 months, the city's financial woes would be gone. We'd be right on the money, and we'd be where we're supposed to be. And I'm sorry, but you were not looking out for the best interests. Or to quote Councilor Mitchell, we have to look at the big picture when we take the vote. You didn't look at the big picture. You looked at your voting record with the fire department so that you wouldn't lose any votes come next September and November. This decision and this vote was strictly a political decision, and that's why it went to 7-1. And the turncoats, as you're being declared by the citizens, are both of you, Councilor Mitchell, Councilor Mioza. And I have put out a branch, an olive branch or an invitation to Councilor Mioza last week on Friday that he is welcome to come on the show and be one of our guests, and he has agreed. And we also have another person who wants to be on our show, and I believe this Friday we're going to be having him on in the hot seat. And the hot seat is going to start when we tape on Friday, and you'll be seeing it on Monday. But what do you think about this, Chip? Did they vote for pay-as-you-throw? Did they empower the mayor to put the screws to the taxpayers of Fall River? I want to know.
Yeah, well, the big picture is that the fact is they voted to continue down the road of fiscal mismanagement. Even though they sat in the council chamber, never got an accurate answer or an accurate number, they used the old fear card. They played the fear card. We're going to go to a 112. We're going to go with the receivership. And as you said, you know, sometimes, and said it on the show, sometimes you got to burn something down and rebuild it. And you know something? That's absolute bullshit that they were going to gut the fire department, because they wouldn't. When the receivers come in, they're going to make sure that essential services are maintained. They're going to cut salaries of They're going to cut the salaries of administrators. They're going to eliminate administrative positions. They're going to streamline government. They're going to do everything that we seem to not be able to do, because everybody uses an excuse to support budgets that are nothing more than smoke and mirrors. And we said last year we would be out of money, and we're out. And this budget, we want to see where they come up with the $6 million for the school department in October. This is no more than political rhetoric and justifications, because nobody wants to bite the bullet. And you know something? You got to.
And you know, the thing, the big problem is that we had what we called the fiscal four. That was Ray Mitchell, Mike Mioza, Linda Pereira, and Dan Rigo. And now we're down to the fiscal two, according to the public. The community says we need to get rid of 7 councilors now. It used to be we need to get rid of 5 of them. Now they want to get rid of 7. That is amazing. It's totally amazing that with this one vote, these 2 councilors lost a lot of credibility. But they think they haven't. They really think they haven't. And, you know, they're not listening to the voters, to the point that, you know, the committee to recall Mayor Flanagan, had just about given up the idea of doing it because everybody wants to recall them, but nobody wants to get involved. Now, all of a sudden, they'll want to get involved, but they want to extend it and they want to have a whole new election. They just want to re-elect everybody. They want new people in office. And they've got the bodies now. They've got the people. So what is corporate counsel and the city clerk going to do this time that they didn't do last time? Because last time they said the signatures were unlawful, they didn't meet the requirements, and they met all the requirements of the law as I've read it so far, and as it happened back then. And my investigations recently into what happened there was that the city clerk was ordered by the mayor and by corporate counsel to not accept the petition, which means the mayor and corporate counsel said, who cares about their rights? Don't give them what they want. I think that is shady. I don't know.
Well, it's Fall River, and as you said, we've got a couple minutes left, and I'm gonna say that, there are a whole bunch of excuses, and as you said, and I think that overall, I think Councilor Mitchell and Councilor Maioza have done good jobs on many issues. I said, but the fact is, we've got to get to the bottom line. The only way to fix this city is to change the way we do business. I don't understand how Mark Monroe Dion can figure it out, and we can figure it out. What did he say in his article? He said the people who are getting $20 an hour may have to go down to 18. The people who are getting 16 may have to go down to 14. The people who are getting 18 may have to go down to 16. We've got to eliminate extra positions. We've got to streamline government. We've got to put our money in to essential service. Everybody figures this out, but our council and our mayor. Everybody can see what we have to do, but you're right. They're worried about the election. The fact is, you know something? Sometimes you've got to stand on your principles and do what you have to do for the betterment of the city. Then people will understand. Don't worry more about fixing the city than getting reelected.
Yeah, true. And I must admit, it's been an interesting show so far, and if we had another half hour, we go on some more. But I will say this much, okay? We have a couple of announcements for you. In our next show, we plan on bringing on our new feature called The Hot Seat. The Hot Seat invites city individuals, city residents, to come and speak their mind and face the hot seat, which is the questions that Chipper and I present. They could be politicians, they could be citizens, they could be anyone, so you never know. And that's going to be starting in our next show. The other thing is, we're going to be going live. Yes, Chip, can you believe it? Live. This is going to be interesting. You're going to have to curtail that mouth of yours. But we'll be going live, and we'll be bringing it to you live. Our shows will still appear on Channel 95 with Greater Fall River Cable TV and Comcast. It will also be appearing live there, and we're still on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for watching. You have a great day, and keep those tips and comments coming in.
And I'll say bullshit live, too.